Hello, everyone. My name is Debbie Wetzler, and to give other people hope about getting out of tough situations, I've decided to share my story with people. Um, I live in Maryland. I have two beautiful children, and I have two beautiful grandchildren at this point. But a few years ago, my life wasn't so great. I'd always been an entrepreneur. I'd had my own businesses. I'd been able to run my own businesses. I was an interior designer for years and was very successful. I had money coming in, and I had a beautiful life. And I was always my own boss. But unfortunately, things happen sometimes. And so I had stepped down to help a man with a children's website. And it was an amazing website, and we were having a lot of fun, and Disney and Pixar had wanted to buy it. However, the man did not know how to run a business. And in 2008, when the economy got so bad, he went bankrupt. And for weeks, I was without anything coming in, for actually months. No one wanted interior designers at the time. Everyone was trying to save their house. It was the worst economy in a very long time. And so I pounded the pavement trying to get a job. In the meantime, I had a daughter who was living with me, and she had gone through a very rough period in her life. I was a single mom. I was trying to raise her to the best of my ability, and I also had an elderly mother. And the stress of her watching me not having any money come in was really starting to get to her also. So I was trying to protect both of them, to not let them know how bad the situation really was. A very stressful time in my life. I finally found a job as a server in a restaurant. And I was working double shifts to try to make enough money to pay for my bills and just to put food on the table. And double shifts meant I worked from 10 in the morning till midnight or 1 or 2 a lot of times. And I had a 20-minute break every single day. And I was doing okay money-wise, except that I was getting further behind on my mortgage. I just couldn't quite make enough to cover the full mortgage. So I applied for loan modifications to lower my interest, and they kept turning me down, saying I wasn't making enough money. All of this time, I was really getting scared as to what to do, and I finally got the letter of foreclosure that I anticipated happening. And my daughter's face flashed up in front of me, and I just knew I couldn't look her in the eye and say, "I'm sorry now, we're going to be homeless." I just couldn't. And so I went upstairs, I got on my knees, I put out the biggest prayer to the universe that I could ever give, and I just said, "Please send me something that I can help people with, but also that would restore my financial dignity." And it was the very next morning, before I even got out of bed, that a girlfriend from Colorado called and said, "You need to look into a huge breakthrough that's come about." And I just kind of looked up and went, "Thank you." I knew this had to be it. It was the quickest answer to prayer I'd ever had. So I went running downstairs, and I looked at a video about a product and a company called ASEA. Well, this was about redox molecules. And it told me where they were made in the body and what they did for the body. And I just remember this overwhelming feeling of, if this is true, this has got to be huge. These molecules were foundational to people's health. They allowed the cells to signal and communicate with each other, and their biggest purpose was to go and detect damaged cells anywhere in the body and help the body repair and replace them. And I just thought, this is amazing. So after I watched the video, I didn't have much time, and I had to get started right away if this was going to be my purpose at this point. And so I called a very good friend of mine, very smart. She graduated from Johns Hopkins. She was a molecular biologist. She worked in one of our largest research centers in the United States. And I just asked her if I could come over and share the information and have her validate it for me and tell me a little bit more about it. So I went over there, I put the information down, and I will never, ever forget her face. She almost fell off her chair. She looked and she just said, "Debbie, I've been studying these molecules for 17 years. We've had scientists from around the world come and try to do this. Are you telling me that somebody was finally able to stabilize these molecules outside the human body in a bioactive form?" And I looked at her and said, "Yes." And she just looked and said, "Debbie, This is massive. This will change the scientific world as you know it. And she pulled a book off her shelf right away and she opened it. It was all about redox. And she went through and explained how they were very, very tiny, 4 atoms big or bigger. And they were one of the only things in the body that crossed the blood-brain barrier in order to help mental defective cells also. So she went on to tell me all the different things that this could help people with in the mental division, much less in your body. And she just looked at me and she said, "You have no idea how massive this is." And I remember just getting the chills. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this is a greater gift than I ever thought I would get. So the next thing I had to do was, if I was going to put my time in it, which I had maybe 20 minutes a day, as I said, I had to know that the company and the foundation was firm and solid and that this was not going to go away, because this was a brand new company. And so many new companies go bankrupt, as I had just gone through. So I borrowed a buddy pass from an airline pilot, and I flew myself to the launch of the product. And it was there that I realized that I was home, I guess I'll put it, because I got to see that the company was already financially stable. They were already in the black. I got to meet the founders of the company. And when you're with them, you know the integrity of the company. But I also heard the story of how this started. And once I heard that Vertus Norton had been able to try to help the company before this was ASEA financially, had not been able to do it, they had already buried themselves way too deep, had been able to purchase then the formula and introduce it to an atomic medical physicist who was then able to do so much research and finally discovered, to his amazement, that these were identical to what the body made. These were redox molecules. And then he and a team of scientists were able to stabilize them so that they remained stable in a bottle being shipped to you. And that he had been offered a great sum of money from a pharmaceutical company in order to have them shut it down and take it away from everybody who was on the product already. And he turned down that check in order to start this company so that the world could learn about what this was. At age 70, to start a company, I knew I was home, and I knew that this was going to be the place I was going to spend the rest of my life, telling people about the amazing effects of redox molecules and what this could do for them, not only health-wise, which it's enormous, but also financial-wise. This literally turned my financial security completely around, so that within 2 months, I was able to save my home from foreclosure, and working just 20 minutes a day, every single day, just calling the people I loved and cared about, just to share what I'd found out and let them know that it was there for them if they wanted it. I was able to start making enough money, 6 figures, in a year and a half, that I could quit that job and do this full time and be able to pay for my son's rehearsal dinner at the time, which was one of my main purposes at that time in my life. This completely turned my life around. I will be forever grateful. And I want to thank you for listening. I just want to offer hope for people out there in maybe the same situation, for single moms, dads, parents, for anyone who needs hope in their life again. Thank you so much.